Hello, everyone. We are back with another episode of Vintage Club Conversations. Today, we have Jeff Perry, CRO at Carta.
Jeff Perry has led revenue organizations through scale, complexity, and transformation. First at Oracle, then at DocuSign, and now he's the CRO at Carta. Jeff's journey is a masterclass in building go to market engines that don't just grow fast, but grow smart, connecting product, sales, and customer success around one shared goal: delivering real value to customers.
Welcome to Vintage Club Conversations, Jeff.
Manisha, thank you for having me. It's great to talk to you today.
Same here, Jeff. Really looking forward to our conversation. So, Jeff, you have seen sales from the enterprise world at Oracle through the hypergrowth phase at DocuSign and now in the scale stage at Carta. How would you describe how the craft of selling and leading revenue teams has evolved through all those chapters you have seen?
Yeah, well, thank you. Yeah, it's been fun and interesting to work at three great companies that we're obviously had different timing and different market fit at the time, and so like the sales process has evolved based on who the customer is and how to sell to them, and that changed greatly over time. And then especially all the different tools that have been added over the years and decades now that help enhance the sales process. And so, so sort of how we train, how we enable people, the resources available has evolved so much over the 20 plus years to where it's completely different in how I operated as an AE back in 2005 compared to what an AE does now in 2025. And I would argue it's much for the better now. And there's so many more resources available to help. I would also say that like the core ingredient of finding a customer pain and matching a solution to that pain hasn't changed. No matter how many tools you have or different ways of going about selling, building a relationship and matching a customer pain to a solution that you can provide and adding value to the customer, that's the core of sales. And that hasn't changed at all, in my opinion.
Do you think having too many tools, I mean, of course, it has changed over last 2 decades, I would say, but having too many tools, the entire data is like spread across multiple tools, and it is sometimes it's counterproductive that we feel that, oh yeah, A's have too many tools, now they can spend more time with customers, but it has become counterproductive. Do you see that happening?
I do, and I'm glad you said it because there are just so many options available now that it's hard to actually find out like what is really helpful and valuable as a tool, what you will get from an adoption standpoint by AEs, and is it something that you actually have to force an AE to do, or is it a tool that they actually use because they see the benefit of it themselves? And I get obviously prospected to a lot given the size and stage that Carta is at, and there's sort of like you get overwhelmed with all the options of tools to potentially evaluate out there to figure out like what the best thing is for us given our size and stage. And Carta is very different. It's almost like three different companies within. And so the selling motion, the buying motion, the sales cycles are all very different. So it's not like a one size tool fits all in our case. And so finding the right tool for each of the businesses, I think is important. And in some cases, like not overcomplicating things and keeping things as simple as possible as well.
Not having 100 fields in Salesforce.
Yes, definitely. And, we went through a stage, I think COVID in a way helped us. One of the benefits of COVID, there was a lot of not benefit, but one of the things was it helped us, stop some of the vendor sprawl that we had because people had been buying different technologies because it solved the niche need that they had at that time. And when we had to do a cost consolidation exercise, it helped us, whittle down to the ones that were essential to the business. And then from there, start to think about what are the future tools that you might need to help become more effective. And then, of course, the AI boom has changed that all and in a rapid, short period of time.
Yeah, absolutely. So if you were an A today, what is one automation tool or one, SaaS tool you would love to have?
Yeah, things I didn't have. Well, obviously, like the outreach tools and the ways to communicate through email and creating organized, orchestrated campaigns to prospects is like the easy answer to that question. Just so helpful. We actually had to do the old school like cold calling people and build your own list and actually find people to talk to. So totally different, and those tools are beneficial. I actually think personally, one of the things that has another hidden benefit is, we use Chorus for call recordings. That wasn't something we were doing 20 years ago. You did an actual phone call with a customer, but the ability to like see and interact with the customer, and get like the visual expressions of like understanding or like a reaction one way or another, the cues that you get from body language and people understanding sort of what you're talking about and the value that you can potentially add, I think is really important. And I think actually like seeing yourself on screen as an AE helps you just practice and perfect your pitch and how you tell the story of the value that you add. So those are things I would love to have had way back in the day.
Yeah, I think even the entire environment in which you're doing these cold calls matters so much. Like you're sitting versus you're walking and talking. It just, the confidence in your voice changes so much.
Yeah, I've many years ago I went through a training that talked about like standing up. It allows you to project your voice. So you'll oftentimes see the AEs that have the standing desks, and they'll do calls from a standing position. I happen to be a hands talker. You can see that, and so like everyone has their own different style. The ability to communicate like how you would and be, I think have a script about what you want to communicate, but also be genuine in how you deliver the script.
Absolutely. So you have got such a unique, vantage point at Carta, Jeff, working with thousands of companies across different stages and industries. It gives you a real pulse on what's happening in the market, right? So from where you are sitting right now, what are some of the most consistent non-AI trends you're seeing in how businesses are scaling or operating?
Yeah, look, we have 45,000 companies on the Carta platform now. We bring on roughly 500 new companies every month, and it's fairly consistent, which is good. That means there's a healthy market out there. There are founders coming up with new great ideas, and there are investors investing in those great ideas. And we get to be at the tip of the spear and helping those companies when they first get formed to put their cap table on Carta, and then hopefully they grow into unicorn companies and well beyond. And hopefully there's an opening of an IPO market, and there's liquidity events and all these things along the way. And we get to provide additional products like our total compensation comp benchmarking tool, QSBS tax advisory products. So we do so much more for these companies than just the cap table component of it now. But you see like a healthier market that it seems to be thriving now. Some of that is a boom of like AI companies being created, not necessarily like everyone using all those tools, but the influx of cash going into that part of the industry in tech that has created a boom of new companies being created. And many of those will become the next generational companies when you think about 5-10 years down the road. And for us, it's exciting to be on the front end of seeing all those companies be formed and help them along their growth journey.
Yeah, I think the AI boom is real this time. It's not just a buzzword. I think all of us are experiencing it firsthand. It's very, very interesting to see. And when you look at these companies that are starting, to embed AI, especially more deeply into their core product offerings, what feels different? I mean, are their outcomes fundamentally changing, or they're just finding faster and smarter ways to get to the same goals?
Yeah, so we've done something interesting here. Much like the vendor sprawl I mentioned earlier, pre-COVID, we had a little bit of vendor sprawl with the AI boom too. And so Henry, our CEO, I thought did a brilliant move, which was put a stop to all purchasing of additional AI tools. And he asked that any employee that had something they were working on that they had thought that AI would solve, or a vendor that they thought would solve it, to create a less than 3-minute video demo on that company and product and explain what it does, how it does it, and how it'll benefit us at Carta using it. and submit it to him directly because he wanted to see all of these. And he's deep into AI and loves seeing the problems that they're solving, but also wanted to create a filter for what we were using. And then he actually put another layer on it, which was if it was something that we decided we need or should consider, then do we buy it from that company, or is it something like we can build and work on with our own engineers? And so that's the process we put in place to kind of filter where and how we should be using AI, so that it's not just all these pockets across the company using it in different ways. Then I think the other big thing is which I appreciate, no one at Carta yet has asked me to figure out how to use AI to reduce your headcount. And I think that's a lot of the pitch of a lot of the companies is like, you can use this tool and it'll allow you to not have to spend on what people were doing. And we've taken a completely different approach on it, which is figure out how to make all the people that we have that much more productive and impactful in the roles they have by leveraging what AI can provide. And I think when you use that mentality, it gives people a much more open mind to think about how you can adopt it, where you can adopt it, versus saying, if I make a recommendation, is this something that's going to eliminate my job or other people's job?
I think this saying has become very popular. AI is not going to take away your jobs, but someone using AI is going to take away your job.
Yes. Or if you're not embracing it, you're going to lose your job. Like figure out how to use it and be successful with it and make yourself and others more productive. That's what it's all about. And we've found ways
Definitely.
to do that across our organization without buying every tool that gets pitched to me.
Yeah, I think, if there's another person who is 10x productive than you using AI, then you would always prefer the other person.
That's right. That's right.
So, Jeff, Carta now serves founders, investors, enterprises, very different buyer personas. I mean, there's this big spectrum, right? How did you go about building a sales motion that works across multiple products and customer segments without, fragmenting the team or message? Because consistency in messaging is really, really important for the company to scale.
It's a great question, and I think it happens over time. I think a lot of it is, as an exec team, we communicate well with each other about like everyone's role and sort of how we tell the Carta story, and then what piece of the Carta story you actually are as the buyer. And so I also think I learned a lot in my days at Oracle and managing large teams and taking on acquisitions and adding multiple products into what the offering was that I didn't know it at the time, but getting that experience has become very helpful in my role here at Carta now. And really what it came down to is like, how do you grow faster? Like the only way you can grow faster is by adding more value to existing customers you have or attracting new customers. And so we did that. Carta got really, really good at a couple things. One being take a services or spreadsheet problem and put it into the cloud. And we did that with cap tables. And we worked with lawyers that we had kind of a frenemy thing happening for a while where we were competing for lawyers' billing hours, but we convinced them that it's better to manage the cap table in Carta versus having them manage it directly. And once we built that channel, we built the referral network to be able to capture majority of the startup base. And then we want to grow faster and we have all this data. So we say, well, how can you create more products there? Well, we have all the compensation data, both cash comp and equity for these companies. So we created a comp benchmarking tool. So anyone that's using the cap table software, we also can sell them the comp benchmarking tool, Carta Total Compensation, that allows them to do a couple things. Make sure their employees are paid fairly and equitably in the market. It also helps the founder make sure that they're protecting the cap table and not having to give away too much to attract and retain the best talent out there. And then we did QSBS tax advisory products. So the more we can add on allows us to continue to bring on new customers, but expand the growth in that area. Again, same mentality, win a customer and then figure out ways you can generate or build more products to generate more value for that customer. And then we did that. And then along the way, there's this other company, building inside of Carta, which is the private equity business. And we took the best of both worlds in the same way and said, okay, all these portfolio companies of those firms, we can help with cap table ownership tracking. We can create waterfall tools for the firm to manage the flow of values of their companies and valuations. And then we can do, of course, fund administration for private equity firms too, and solve that spreadsheet problem. And so we continue to keep doing that. It's still happening now. In the last 2 weeks, we've acquired two additional companies. One was Excelix, basically a data extraction tool for LPs. And so now we have a product to sell to LPs. So, when I started back at Carta in 2018, it was sell to founders. Then it became sell to founders and sell to CFOs of venture firms, and then CFO of private equity firms. And now it's sell to limited partners as well, and big institutional limited partners. So we keep adding like new things to new segments to go after, and ICPs to go after, and then adding more products once we've won them as customers.
That's very interesting and a lot. First of all, congratulations for the acquisitions. How do you put across this messaging for your account executives? Isn't it? I mean, because things are changing so fast, you're on an acquisition spree. There's so much they have to absorb, right? Like, how do you go about sales enablement in this case?
Well, to me, sales has changed, as we talked about earlier, and there's so much information available to a prospect now prior than they ever had before. And so you typically are talking to an educated prospect, right? And so what we've done is try and make sure that everyone at Carta understands the Carta story. And I hate calling it a pitch, even though I was a baseball player back in the day. It's not a pitch; it's the Carta story and how we help customers, right? And so that's all the ERP the platform that I mentioned. And every AE, depending on what department you're part of, you have a component of the platform that you're responsible for selling. Like the cap table business is part of the platform that is sold to founders in our cap table business. If you're the CFO of one of these venture firms, you're looking at the fund administration piece of the platform, along with tactic and tax and all these other things that we can do, expense reporting and all the things that are built in as features. And so our responsibility is to make sure like everyone at Carta understands the ERP story, and then where they fit into that so that they can best communicate the value to their specific prospects.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. The buyer journey has completely changed. The prospects are much, much more knowledgeable about what multiple vendors are doing. The space has gotten very competitive, so they definitely need to, now know deeper information than what they used to, go ahead with before.
Yeah, and with some of our success comes brand recognition, and so most people that we act with typically have some understanding of what Carta does. The great part about it is I think most people don't know how vast the offering is. They might think like I was an employee or I was an investor in a company and I received my equity from this business that I was, part of as a cap table, and have no idea of all the things that we do with venture firms and private equity firms and now limited partners as well. And so that's the fun part of what we do, is getting to tell the entire ERP story that Carta.
Well, I'm one of them. I'm a Carta customer, and I didn't know you had so many offerings.
I know. Thank you for being a customer. And now you know about all these other things, and you can go tell friends and colleagues and people that you work with in your network that Carta offers these things too.
Yep, absolutely. So, we are seeing a wave of AI tools reshaping how teams prospect, qualify, and respond, right? Like you mentioned, right? From earlier, there was no outreach, like there were no sequencing tools, to now we have so many AI SDRs. Still, we feel that best salespeople win because of trust and judgment. How do you see that balance evolving between, AI tools and the trust with customers?
Yeah, it's an interesting question, and I'm trying to be AI and technology forward, but as someone that's been in the industry for several decades now, like you want to think about kind of the old way of doing things. And so to me, there's a balance to this. It's us figuring out the tools that make our teams and our people most efficient. That does not change the fact that like oftentimes a prospect, and in our case, majority of the time, they still want to speak to an individual. If you think about an early stage founder, they have put their life, and in many cases, all of their savings, their family's savings, into this company, and they have this coveted cap table document. They want to understand who they're working with and see the face that they're actually buying something from, to take that most coveted document, the ownership of their company, their baby, and put it into some software. And I think most founders want to have that interaction with us. to be able to do that. And so we use the tools on the back end to make sure that we get the reach and breadth that we need to as far as being in front of as many people as we can. And then there's a human element to it as well. And I find very much the same. AI doesn't help with the relationship part of the business. And when you're working with CFOs and heads of finance and venture capital firms and private equity firms, very much a relationship business. So we spend a lot of time doing high touch events and things like that while we let the AI do the work in the background to make sure that like our data is clean, we have all the prospect information, our SDRs are optimizing with some tools to help with outreach and prospecting and things like that. It still, to me, doesn't change the need for the human interaction and the building of the relationship.
Yeah, absolutely. I think AI SDRs can get you meetings, but only relationship and trust can help you win deals. I think today salespeople spend 70% of their time not talking to customers, and that ratio has to now flip.
I know it's one of the things that drives me the most crazy when I walk the floors, and it doesn't like occasionally there's a day where it doesn't feel like there's a buzz and it's a little more quiet, and I'm like, I want to feel people are talking to people. Like that's the best way for us to
Yeah.
generate revenue. And how can we eliminate as much of that sort of back office work that goes into an AE role is what I think all sales leaders are trying to solve.
Totally. Well, you have said before that customer success starts with the first touch point, be it trust, relationship, AI tools, which really highlights how sales success depends more than just the sales team. So, from your experience, what does true alignment between sales, product, and customer success look like? Not just in theory, like day to day execution. And as companies scale and silos inevitably form, how do you maintain that connective tissue?
Yeah, I do remember saying that, and I still believe it. Like, and especially with our SDRs, like they're the tip of the spear of the first interaction that likely a prospect will have with Carta, or an AE is depending on how a lead or an opportunity came to us. But what I want to strive for is making sure that any customer that works with us feels like they had an incredible experience from the first point they got in touch with Carta through the process, the sales process, through the implementation process, and then continued support once they have become a customer, and how we help support them, hopefully forever. And the way we do that is making sure that they get a great experience with the first interaction, of course, and then get a chance to meet the people that they work with. And so many times we have such a great product team here that's so willing to jump on calls and talk to customers and prospects. In fact, in some cases, they're too giving of their time to be able to do that. But I think it's important. It helps with the relationships that we talked about building. We just did an event in Napa with about 25 CFOs. One of the best things we did is we took about an hour and a half of the agenda, and we broke it into working breakout sessions where we put a couple prompt topics out there and put everyone in groups and had them work with. There was an exec and a product person from Carta at each of the tables, and we did a rotation and said, like, these are things we're thinking about building. Tell us, like, is this right? Do we have signal here? Like, what would you want to see differently? What's more important? And the feedback we got was absolutely incredible. And we did, basically a 20-minute session with each of them. And then we consolidated all that feedback. And literally later that night, I was walking back to our room with our chief product officer, and she was on the phone with one of her VPs talking about some of the feedback we got earlier that day and already starting to build it. So in that moment, like taking the real live prospect and customer feedback of what they want, not necessarily always what we think they need, and putting that into the product. So that's one thing that's super helpful, the engagement level there. And then on the fund administration side, everyone wants to know who their team is. And so I think we do a really nice job. We have a great team that we've built over the last 7 years, and entering them in the sales cycle too, so that like the prospect knows who they will be working with post implementation. And then the last thing I would say on this is making sure through implementation, we've started even sending the teams out on site to the customer that just signed with us to help make sure the implementation goes perfectly. Because we know that once we get them onboarded, we can create a great experience. And if we fumble in the onboarding process, we've almost started the engagement behind. And it's hard to keep that relationship in a healthy, happy place moving forward.
I think there's nothing better than in person meetings with customers. I mean,
Yes.
last few years, from 2020 to 23 was bad. Like you couldn't just go and meet any customer, but now I think we are coming back and people are actually, taking flights and meeting customers. So I think that's really the best experience for sales teams. Also,
Definitely.
one thing which has helped us is, so we don't have a separate solutions team. Our product team is the solutions team. So we have cut out this layer, like you were saying, product team talking to customers a lot always help with the speed of building the right things, so that you're not wasting time prioritizing something which is not really important for the customers.
It's so true, and I'm so appreciative of the product team that we have. They're on a different floor in our building here in San Francisco, but they love coming down to the sales floor and spending time with the AEs, because that's how they learn what to be building too. And there's also a bit of like validation that happens where it's like, oh, I'm hearing this from the customers. I know that my work is going into something productive and there's value in it, versus like someone's boss's boss said to build this, right?
Yeah, it's a win-win for both the teams.
Yes.
Well, it's hard to believe we are already in the last quarter of 2025. If you had to make one bold prediction, how do you see selling itself evolving over the next year or two?
Well, I think that there will start to be some of these AI tools that emerge as the ones that people go with. Now there's just so many things out there. And one of the things I love, I often go to get invited to some dinners with other CRO communities and some venture firms that bring some of their portfolio companies, go to market leaders together. And I think everyone goes hoping that someone they sit next to has solved the AI puzzle, and they're going to tell them like, you should use X, Y, and Z, and this is what it does. Like, here's the optimal tech stack of AI for your size and stage of company. And what I've found is all the dinners I've gone to, no one has that answer. They're all curious about someone maybe giving the right answer. But I think that answer over the next couple of quarters starts to emerge on its own, because people will start to see the real value of the ones that are productive and the ones that are internally we call snake oil. And so we'll see like the ones that emerge and start really getting like the future traction to build your go to market platforms around.
Yeah, I think SaaS took at least a decade to come to a reference architecture. It is going to take some time for AI companies, this entire new world of AI, to have a reference architecture using which companies can say, or CROs can say, oh, this is the stack I need to have. Now I have two, three options in every category. Let me go and choose these.
That would be amazing. And I remember because I was selling perpetual licenses back at Oracle in the before SaaS. How it's evolved is amazing, and where it will head will continue to be amazing. It feels like just a lot to absorb in the moment.
Really, I can totally understand. Like, even at our stage, we feel overwhelmed with so many AI tools. I can't even imagine what you are going through or Carta's executives are going through.
Yeah, and like I mean, we try and be thoughtful in our spend, right? We've made ourselves a profitable company at a really nice growth rate and a very large recurring revenue amount. Like, how do we do that? By thoughtful spend and figuring out the right tools that make everyone successful.
Totally. Well, I think our listeners are going to have a lot of takeaways from this conversation. Tons of amazing insights, Jeff. Thank you for this. But before we go away, we are going to set aside work for a moment and get to know more about you as a person. The questions are going to be very quick and to the point. Are you ready?
Okay,
Okay. Coffee, workout, or inbox? What's the first thing that gets attention in the morning?
inbox.
Okay. Can't even think about anything else.
Yeah.
What's something your team would be surprised to learn you're really good at outside of work?
Maybe golf. And I wouldn't say really good. I would say okay.
Okay. Well, if you could have three dream guests over anyone living or dead, who's at Jeff Perry's dinner table?
Wow. Tom Brady, Obama, and Larry Ellison.
Okay, interesting.
Good mix.
Start thinking about a common topic for everyone to speak about.
Might be golf would weave in there a little bit. Yes,
Yeah,
as the icebreaker.
great. Outside of work, what's one funny or unexpected way you have found yourself using AI lately?
Oh, I think it's probably just so simple. It's just the day to day. I mean, you have this function on your phone that you just pop up and ask any question to. We did a family trip this summer in Greece and Croatia, and uh, every hour someone was going to ChatGPT asking like, "What is the best restaurant in Dubrovnik?" And like, you get a list of the top 10, and like, I guess there was a way to Google these things before, but it just feels like the information is so much more crisp, and the speed of it is phenomenal. So I think the day to day usage in ways you take it a step further. Not just what is the best restaurant. You could say like, I'm going on this trip for 10 days. Plan it for me, and they do. It's unbelievable.
It's such a, not a coincidence, but the first thing from personal, usage of AI perspective, the first thing I think all of us do is planning a trip on Chat GPT.
Amazing, right?
Great. Thanks, Jeff. This was a really great conversation. I think I have a few takeaways from this. Listeners will have a lot more. But just summarizing a couple of things, I think no matter how many tools you have, finding a customer pain and building a tool to solve for it and building relationship, that has never changed. That has to continue. Take feedback from customers and prospect. Embed your product teams closer to your sales teams so that you're building something which your customers need. Any other final words of advice you would like to leave our audience with?
Well, I'm glad there are a few great takeaways, and I think the relationship thing is obviously really important. And the last thing, the takeaway I would say is like, for any salespeople out there, like take away the pitch and just like, what is your story and how does it help a prospect? And I think if your delivery comes off in that manner, it's less sales pitchy and more genuine about how you can actually like provide something that offers help to that prospect.
Totally. Just be a good storyteller. The sales will automatically happen.
I wish it was that easy, but yes, exactly.
Trying to make it very easy.
Yeah.
Great. Thank you so much, Jeff. Thanks again for spending this time with us.
Manisha, thank you so much for having me. I enjoyed the conversation. I look forward to your success.
Thank you.